I gotta say, Derek, I like the new music there in the new intro. That's good.
I mean, I'm pretty good at what I do.
Well, let's not get carried away. So, welcome to In the Free Zone with Norm, everybody. With me, as always, is Derek. How you doing this evening, Derek?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. It's you had mentioned storms. I'm seeing a little lightning out east of us, but so far it's just a little bit of wind. I'm outside for a quick smoke, but I'll go back inside. But
yeah, they're still way off to the west of us. They have not been moving as quickly as I expected them to. They're still probably 30 miles west of Elkhart, but there's a couple of lines of storms out there in both New Mexico and Colorado. So
we do have civil unrest in the chat already.
I see that, yeah.
Anthony Hontavirus is not happy with
well, and who can blame him, by the way?
It's a bruggy. He was spinning a bunch of yarns about some missing people tonight on the show over there.
That happens.
Well, I know you have some topics. I have some topics, and then there's some things we have to discuss because what the hell is going on in the planet? And then also we're going to talk a little bit about 1987, which I watched a 1987 mashup of the hits today. Not a fan. Like, I wasn't a fan of any of the songs, so I'll have to look at a list next.
I will tell you this, if you look specifically just in, like, glam metal, which was the dominant music for a lot of people at that time, it was a big year there.
So the reason I chose 87 is I watch a lot of YouTube, like, just it goes on music stuff, and I watched this, like, 10-minute video a few days ago about how, like, 87 was a paramount year for glam metal, and I was like, that's perfect for Norm. He loves that.
Well, it was the genre when I was at that age group.
So I'm gonna throw a quick music related topic at you, and then we'll get into some news headlines type stuff, political stuff, and then we'll get into 87. My first one for you is kind of music related. The bands are Whitesnake and Survivor. The song is called Is This Love? Who did it better?
I wasn't aware that Survivor did Is This Love.
They're two separate songs. They're not anything alike.
Right. Okay. I wasn't aware that they did a song titled Is This Love. I don't. So I can't tell you for sure. I can tell you that this Is This Love for Whitesnake was one of the hits off of that album. And that was a crazy album for Whitesnake. Okay. And here's why it was a crazy album. Whitesnake, the band that went into the studio and recorded that album was Deep Purple with a different lead singer, David Coverdale. And in the meantime, Deep Purple reunited before the album could be released. And so the band that appeared in all of the videos and the band that toured in support of that album was not the band that recorded the album. David Coverdale was the lead singer was the only common member between the band that recorded the album and the band that toured behind the album and did the videos and things. The rest of those guys, and let's see, who were some of those guys? Sykes from Blue Murder. Was it Carmen Apisi? I don't know. Anyway, the band that did the videos and toured behind it, completely different band than the one that recorded the album. But that was a breakout album for Whitesnake. That's, the one with Still of the Night and Is This Love and Here I Go Again. And think of Tawny Katane. That's what they were most famous for, was Tawny Katane in all of their videos. The attractive young lady that appeared in all of their videos.
Well, Survivor wrote Is This Love in 86. And then the other one I think came after.
Yeah, would have been on that album that was released in 87, Whitesnake. Okay.
And the lyrics to the chorus in Survivor, Is This Love That I'm Feeling? And I was like, I was having trouble with it. And so I went to AI and I was like, show me like articles talking about like how these songs came out a year apart. And the lyrics or the song titles are the same. The first two lines of the chorus are the exact same. Show me all the articles of people complaining about that. And AI was like, those songs are so different that you're not going to find that. And I was like, no way. And AI was like, yeah, those songs are completely different. Yeah. And they're not. There can only be one.
And Anthony makes a good comment here. Whitesnake was popular because of the music videos. Do you agree? Yeah, I do. I mean, they were good songs, and it was a monster album. It really was. But in those days, especially, it was MTV that got you that won popularity for you, that sold albums.
Yeah.
MTV was how people knew about you. And so, yeah, the music videos were a huge part of the popularity of Whitesnake in the US, at least. Now, they were already a big band in England, which is where they were from. But yeah, the videos were definitely a huge part of their popularity here in the US.
Second music related thing. It's just a headline I'm going to read to you.
Mm-hmm.
Insane Clown Posse accidentally headlines Bonaroo Festival because of a rainout. They were the last band on stage.
And the juggalos everywhere rejoice.
This brings up, so you're an old band guy. I'm trying to be a band guy. What are your thoughts on festivals? Okay, if you're going to see your favorite band,
Mm-hmm.
obviously you want to see the headliner. But when it's like a local show or a festival or stuff where it's just kind of a mess of talent, as a player, as a person on the bill, where do you feel like the sweet spot is? Not like, again, like just on like a local type show or a festival. Like, do you want your band headlining, or do you want your band playing like second to last? Like, as far as what the crowd look like,
it depends a little bit. Okay. On where it's being held and some things like that. So, in the 80s, there were lots of these big festivals, local festivals, like the Weatherford Jam and things like that were tons of local bands all playing, sometimes a 2 or 3 day festival over a holiday weekend even. And it was always sponsored by a bar and held in a big bar. Well, the headlining band, by the time they came on, everybody was pretty well drunk and out of it, and so a little earlier in the evening was probably actually a little better spot. And so, being last is not always best, especially when it comes to a festival. It depends on how late it's going. It depends on what the crowd is really doing. If the crowd is partying heavily, as crowds at festivals often do, chances are you want to come on a little earlier than the headliner. Sometimes things have either gotten really weird by the time the headliners come on. Think about Woodstock. What year was that? 99, where they burned the place down. Again, probably a little too much alcohol being consumed. Okay, so sometimes by the time the headlining act comes on, things have gotten a little weird, a little out of hand, or sometimes the crowd is just drunk and sleeping, ready to go home by then. And so, I think a lot of times with festivals, especially if alcohol is involved, you're better off to be playing, let's say in that somewhere from 6 to 10 p.m. sweet spot. Yeah. Yeah.
I've only played local shows, and the ego of you wants to headline. You're like, well, I want to be the last band. But then, like, I don't know, every time I've ever headlined anything, which isn't often, usually my band does not headline on purpose, it was within like the second song, we're all looking at each other like, man, there's not that many people here anymore. This place was a wild, party 45 minutes ago. And now half of them are gone, and the other half that are here are just hammered, like,
that happens. That certainly happens.
If any up and coming local music, don't go for the headline. Go for the middle. Go for the middle where people are still there and still alert and sober. So obviously, like, one of my favorite YouTubers is a guy. His handle is number 2 lazy, number 2 try. Too lazy to try.
Lazy to try. Gotcha.
I don't know what he looks like. Whenever he talks, he just puts random pictures of George Costanza on the screen.
Nice.
But he just does like social commentary on everything. And I first got into him because I've never really watched any of the famous podcasts. 1, I don't have time. 2, I don't want to steal from him. 3, there's a bunch of reasons. But I did watch Too Lazy because he would break down, like, he would watch a 4-hour Joe Rogan episode and he would break down what happened in 5 minutes. And that's right up my alley. I got 5 minutes all day. So anyway, he did a video today, and it was the first time where, like, he didn't talk, man. Like, I don't even know if he realized it. Like, he said a few words throughout it, but he was literally just playing all of the people on TV on all sides of the fence, all podcasters on all sides of the fence. Right now, there's a big famous interview going around. Some CNN chick interviewed comedian Tim Dillon, which is probably not a safe thing to do. He has the mind and mouth of a straight white guy that you would probably call racist, but he's gay as shit. So it's like he's hard to, you know what I mean? So she had him on, and one of the things she said to him verbatim is, she's like, I feel like you comedian podcasters are stealing our jobs. And it was the most pathetic thing I've ever heard. I'm like, well, you guys gave your job away when you proved to the world that you were not credible whatsoever. You know, I'm talking about she was a CNN interview. When you're talking about, I don't care what's Fox, CNN, whatever. None of them are credible in my opinion. I think they'll say exactly what their owners tell them to say. Just like I would if I worked there. Just like any company, you're not allowed to your personal political feelings don't trump the bosses. They're like, hey, you're not going to say any of that shit at work and you're going to work here. So everybody is flipping out about the Epstein files. And you have obviously the left, they want to see it now. And I think that if it was flipped, if Kamala won and she silenced it, none of these people. Yeah,
well, the left didn't want to see the Epstein files when Biden was in office.
Exactly. And
okay,
I love all my
just to support what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah, I love all of my friends on both aisles, but I think all of you are dumb as shit. And I think that all of you are just into like a gotcha state of life where you just want to get the other person. But the thing is you'll have people like Charlie Kirk, all these Republican guys that just about face after they get off the phone with Trump, it happened. He called these dudes and they're all booting up their live streams and being like, guys, who even cares about the Epstein files? So I'm going to let you talk, Norm, because it's your show, but just the last thing I'm going to say is I have been kind of saying for months, who cares about the Epstein files? Now, again, the only reason I don't, as Derek Relaford, a person who lives in Kansas, don't really quote unquote care about the Epstein files is because I promise you, not a single person on any associated with Jeffrey Epstein I will ever meet or do business with. I am not in that world. I have always said I could give a shit about famous people who are weirdos. I'm more worried about the people in my own zip code who are weirdos. And it really blows my mind that society is demanding the names of famous people, but they will cover up for their uncle or their cousin or their buddy that sleeps with girls that are a little young. And like, they'll just say, they got problems. And I had Colton Giddens made a post about his window getting broken the other day. And I had made a post that somebody had told me who had done a crime in Elkhart. And I went to a business because somebody said they had cashed in some of the change they got there. And the person working behind the counter says, Derek, you're the last person I would tell. Getting them in trouble is not going to give them their money, but it's just, it's just they'll have to learn from their mistakes. The reason I'm pointing that out is it's in human nature for us to completely look the other way when it's somebody that we can actually touch and associate with and actually cause some change. But if it's a billionaire, we all want to know with salivating mouths, like, who was it? For what? So we can like make fun of them, make memes. Like, what does, Bill Gates being a weirdo have to do with me in real life? So to me, like, I don't know where to land on this because one, I don't care who's on that list, not because I can't do anything to stop them from doing it ever again. To me, it's just meaningless information. But I'm more interested in who's on the list for Southwest Kansas. Who are some weirdos that need to be?
All right. Well, first of all, if that's what you want to see, just go to the Kansas Offenders Registry list.
But I'm talking about people that have not been caught. I'm talking about.
I get that. I get that. That only has people that have been caught. But I'm just saying, if you want a good idea, go look there. All right. Now, listen, this is one of the main things I was wanting to talk about tonight, too. And one of the reasons why this is a big issue is this. Okay, and you already touched on this. The left didn't want any of this stuff released or wasn't talking about it when Joe Biden was in office. Okay, and since Bill Clinton was often supposed to be one of the prominent figures on the Epstein list, they've always kind of, somewhat resisted releasing things. Next, though, is the fact that Donald Trump and many candidates that were MAGA, Make America Great Again candidates, ran on the idea of releasing the Epstein list. And Donald Trump and his sons frequently blamed the Biden administration for not releasing the list. And now, of course, Donald Trump has no intention of releasing the list and says that the list is a hoax and that he can't believe his supporters have bought into the bullshit. Okay? So, Donald Trump has a real public relations problem here, because he ran on this issue and it was an important issue to his followers. Not only that, but a big part of the right-wing narrative and a huge part of the QAnon narrative is this idea that the United States is run by pedophiles, and that Epstein was a big part of that, and the Epstein list was a huge part of that. And okay, and so that is something that the far right has been marinated in for years, an idea. And so the idea of not releasing the Epstein list is a huge thing to them. Now, here's the rub, okay? Nobody knows if the Epstein, well, somebody does. Nobody like you and I at our level knows if the Epstein list even exists or not, okay? I doubt very seriously that he had a literal black book that he wrote down the names of customers in. At the same time, I'm sure he probably did have some sort of accounting system and all of that, okay? By the way, in some of the worst timing of all, Ghislaine Maxwell's family has appealed to Donald Trump for a pardon. So that's been in the news today, too. So listen, yeah, this is going to be an issue. It's going to be a big issue because it has pitted Donald Trump against many of his own followers. And so it's going to be used as a wedge issue to try and drive, a wedge between Donald Trump and his followers. Listen, there must be 1,000 pictures out there of Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein hanging out together. Okay? But there's 1,000 pictures of all kinds of famous people hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, right? He ran in those circles and all of those people ran together, and that's a big part of this, is that perception of the common man that this is just another example of the elite getting away with whatever they want to get away with. Okay? Yeah, I just saw that. And yeah, if anybody has a book, she's probably the one. Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Things you said, so to me, like Bill Clinton, this is just a statement. I think his only saving grace as a human being for like appeal to his party is the fact that he is a part of his party, that he does represent. Like, he's, in my opinion, just based on just the Monica Lewinsky. Like, and again, I'm not demonizing the guy. I'm just saying, like, Bill Clinton is to Donald Trump. Like, it's the same. Like, he's not who he says he is, as far as like he has allegations against him, as many allegations against him. Like, neither one of them are going to win any like charm school, competition. Nope. Like, they're not good people, probably, like, when it comes to like women. But anyway, another thing I want to say is, like, you did say he ran on the Epstein list and now he's squashing it. But, like, again, I say this with a grain of salt because I wouldn't put it past the old dude to try to get a robot heart and live forever and run for a third and fourth and fifth term. But as of now, on planet Earth, like, he can't run again. So to me, like, I almost look at it, I'm just like,
he's not dependent on his voters at all.
No matter how this ends, I think it's just a lesson in buyer beware.
Yeah.
It's like,
to a certain extent, it doesn't matter to him if he alienates his own base.
Yeah.
Okay. Because he's not running for re-election. He is term limited out, unless he has a chosen successor that, what I'm saying? That's the only reason why it would matter. And by the way, people dug up several past tweets from like his sons, right? Don Jr. basically saying, well, hey, Joe Biden isn't releasing the Epstein files. That tells you something, I mean, just basically things like that. And that, it's obviously the people that are staying silent on this that are the ones on the list, and so on and so on. Anybody that fights against releasing the list is obviously on the list. And
Okay. Let's just start from square one. Rob Wilson, do you think that Epstein killed himself? Let's just start there. Like, you as a rational human being, based on like your own personal thinking, with what Anthony just said, there's 3 minutes of there's tons of I don't know anything about it, but I am speculative of what happened that night, and I've never really read a lot into it, and I'm like, there's enough weirdness that I would be like, I'm 50-50, but where do you stand as a rational human being that doesn't believe?
All right. Yeah. And that's the thing. I am usually fairly rational, and listen, I am fascinated by conspiracy theories, but I almost never believe them. So my tendency in this would normally be to say that, that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself, but, yada, yada, yada. But in this case, I'm not real sure, to be honest with you. I think there's a real possibility that Epstein didn't kill himself. Now, I don't know enough to make a decision one way or the other. Anything I say would just be throwing out an opinion based on very little actual fact. And so I don't really know enough here to give you a valid opinion, but something in my gut and in the back of my mind tells me that he probably did not kill himself. I could be wrong. I have been before, and I will be again,
I have another hypothetical question for you. So let's say tomorrow morning you wake up and an authentic, heavily vetted by multiple people, this is the actual list, and we find out tomorrow morning that like a good 30 to 40% of our like people who are in charge of how we eat, breathe, and shit are all weirdos. What does that do to your American society to show you that like roughly 30 to 40% of your you could extrapolate that to the whole population almost. Like, there's a bunch of weirdos in the world and in this country. Like, this is because we were talking
first
earlier,
of all,
like I said, you were like, you can look at this, but we're talking about people that have never been caught in the Epstein series. Anybody that's on that list that has a record, nobody cares about their name. I'm talking about people that have not been caught in that movie.
All right. Listen, here's what I'm going to say. I never thought that the Epstein list, if there is a list, would come out. And the reason why it won't ever come out is the same reason that the government felt like they had to bail out all the banks and the car companies a few years ago, is because if they all fall at once, it's going to be catastrophic to our system. Okay, we can't have, if the Epstein list is this comprehensive list that is as huge a conspiracy as people say, you can't have all those people fall at once, right? Or at least someone will look at it that way, that you can't have all those people fall at once.
And is that a self-preservation move?
Well, it depends on who you're talking about.
Us as a populace.
That's what I'm saying. The populace doesn't give a crap. It's the people in the government that care. So it's self-preservation for them, not necessarily for the populace. Okay? But yeah, that's the thing, is I never expected the Epstein list to come out because I always figured that somebody or multiple somebodies would block it from happening because they'd be afraid of the consequences, not just the consequences of them being exposed, but the consequences of what happens to the government if supposedly so many people are in on it and yada, yada, yada. And not only that, but what if the list is basically just anybody that's ever done business with Jeffrey Epstein, but had nothing to do with, other things that went on?
Yeah.
Is this going to turn into, the McCarthy hearings, the McCarthy anti-communist hearings, we can't afford to go through something like that either, or people will figure that we can't. And so I never really expected this list to come out, just because, number one, you can sell a lot more advertising and get people to tune in a lot more when they're speculating about who might be on the list than once they know who's on it. Number two, if there are a bunch of high, powerful people on the list that would fall because of it, somebody's going to say we can't have that happen. We can't wipe out our government or whatever, you know? And so I never really expected the Epstein list to be released. By the way, I would just like to point out, and I'll see if I can get it in front of this is still my favorite meme of all time. Oh, you can't even read it, can you?
Nuh-uh.
It's the one that has the picture of Hillary Clinton there on the phone, and it says, "Hello, hotline. I'd like to place an order."
Anthony says a comment, and I've seen this a lot. Giselle Maxwell has a get out of jail free card because Trump said the files were hoax. But no, see, the files, Epstein was in jail because he had been caught and admitted, and he touched minors. And this chick helped him facilitate that.
Yes,
They both
she did.
belong behind bars. This list is a byproduct, a bonus of like, hey, can't we just go through his black book and see who they hook people up with that were underage, you know? Like, but like that's not, again, maybe you're being facetious because a lot of people are facetious these days because the news does look like a joke magazine or something every day these days. You're just like, what? Like, Mr. Potato Head's gay? What? Like, everything's different. So it's like, she is in jail for a reason. He was in jail for a reason. I don't think that if she gets to get out of jail, it would be from a pardon. I don't think it would be because Trump's saying the list doesn't exist. The list has nothing to do with their crimes, really. I mean, it does, but it doesn't.
Yeah, no, she's been convicted in a court of law. Unless she is pardoned, she'll remain in prison until she's eligible for parole or something like that. Yeah. So yeah, there's no get out of jail free card in that sense. However, if Donald Trump pardons her, and you know he's not gonna stand for re-election, so he might figure he doesn't have anything to lose. That will be a huge public relations nightmare for him. But as he's headed out, he might be willing to disregard that. So I doubt it very seriously, but who knows? One thing that having 2 term limits on our presidents does is it sometimes makes them unpredictable in their second term. And Donald Trump's already a little chaotic and unpredictable. Okay. And so, somebody like him is definitely even a little more chaotic and unpredictable than the average guy. And so, I don't, who knows? I'd find it hard to believe that he would be dumb enough to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, but who knows?
So
I've put other things past him than he's gone on and done them. So
I think Trump slaughtered the Republican Party as we knew it before he did, and now he
has killed the conservative movement. I'll be honest.
Now on his second term, he might be slaughtering the MAGA movement just because he's a wild and crazy guy. He's just like doesn't care.
Well, yeah, he's not. He has never had any core philosophical beliefs. Okay. He was able to convince some people that he did, but if you look at his past and his record, the things he has said, the things he has done, he has never really had any core philosophical beliefs. He threw red meat to the base once he became president and in his efforts to become president. But the thing that you got to remember, and that a lot of his supporters forget, is that Donald Trump was a lifelong Democrat up until he decided that he could somehow win the nomination as a Republican candidate. He was a huge supporter of Bill and Hillary Clinton when they were in office. Just like there are thousands of pictures of him with Jeffrey Epstein, there are thousands of pictures of him with Bill and Hillary, with his arms around them and buddy, and he was a huge contributor to their campaigns. And so, Donald Trump is chaotic. He's unpredictable. He's not always the person that he presents publicly, but that's okay. Neither is any politician, to be honest with you. They're all a pack of liars and thieves.
Well, what you just said is because I'm somebody who's typically, when I see a politician pandering, it makes me dislike them. But like, follow me on this thought process here. Okay. Is pandering evil? Or is it genius to realize that you have to talk dumb to dumb people?
Okay, now I want to make sure you and I are talking about the same thing. So how do you define pandering?
Donald Trump saying he loves Jesus Christ and Bill Clinton
Okay.
saying that he
So
thinks
somebody telling people what they want to hear.
yeah,
And
is it evil or is
that's the
it a smart
definition that
approach?
I would have operated by
Because
too.
people are dumb and they have to have stuff spoon fed to them. Basically, is
All
it
right,
evil or smart?
it's not necessarily evil, okay? No, I don't think pandering is evil. Like anything, it can be evil if your intent is evil with it, okay? Evil is defined by intent. But what pandering is often, not always, but often, is it is disingenuous, okay? You're telling people what they want to hear and not necessarily the truth. Sometimes pandering is true. Sometimes people are telling the truth. Okay. But much of the time, what they are doing is they're disingenuously just telling people what they want to hear. And Donald Trump has definitely been guilty of that, but so are virtually all politicians. So that's the thing. And I know, a lot of what Trump voters loved about Trump is that he wasn't a politician. He was a businessman. Well, as soon as he started trying to get votes and running for office, he became a politician. And whether you want to realize it or not, he took on the same habits that you hate about politicians. He took on those same habits himself. Okay? And Donald Trump, to say that Donald Trump is not a politician now is patently false. Donald Trump is a politician and he does all the same crap that other politicians do.
And if we're calling him a politician and not a human being, he's a pretty damn good politician if you look at the scoreboard.
Well, now, I didn't say that politicians are not human beings.
No, but I'm saying, I'm not judging him by his merit or his character or his ideas. But as a politician, he did well.
He has been an incredibly successful politician. He really has. Much more successful than I would have expected. I remember when he won the Republican nomination in 2016, I remember thinking to myself that the Republicans just nominated literally the only candidate they had that can't beat Hillary. I mean, every other Republican would have beaten Hillary in a landslide. Hillary Clinton was a monumentally bad candidate. Nobody wanted Hillary Clinton to be president. And then the Republicans screw around and nominate the one guy, the one single guy out of the whole race that probably can't beat her. And then, of course, he did beat her, But yeah, I do remember literally thinking that, oh my God, the Republicans just nominated the only guy on earth that can't beat Hillary Clinton.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question I've never asked you, and you don't have to answer it, but this is one of my favorite comedians, Norm Macdonald. He played an idiot his whole life in public, and he said in an interview that if you're smart, you should never really let people know because nobody likes a smart guy. But basically, this is my question to you, and you can choose to answer or not. Is Donald Trump stupid?
No, Donald Trump's not stupid. Now, Donald Trump may not be Stephen Hawking, but he's not stupid, Now, what on earth would lead people to believe that he is? He has a lot of personal failings, but lack of intelligence has never been one of them. Now, he's not a genius, don't get me wrong, but he's not stupid, and he never has been stupid.
When I realized he wasn't stupid, again, I did not vote. I think people think that I have a Trump tattoo. I didn't vote for the guy. I've never voted. I'm Team USA. Whoever wins, I'll vote for him. I'll pull for him. When I realized he wasn't stupid was because if you just listen to him talk, it's really easy to make an argument that he's stupid. He'll say some stupid shit all day. When I realized that I think he might be, not Stephen Hawking, but I think he might be more intelligent than the average Joe.
Yeah.
One of his guys when he first won, one of his guys that helped him in the campaign was on that TV show Celebrity Big Brother, which Stephanie's a big fan of. And there's a new season on tonight. They have like these cameras that when they're not in production, they just film them 24 hours a day. And if you pay money, you can watch the cameras and stuff. And they were just having a candor. And he was talking to like 4 or 5 celebrities that vehemently hated Donald Trump, but they were just enthralled to find out what is it like to be around this guy. Like, does he drink baby blood? Mm-hmm. Like, what's the deal? And the one story that he gave him, he's like, my favorite thing to see that dude do was we would all be hanging out in a big room, a bunch of people, and it'd be chaotic and he's like, Donald would get on his phone and tweet something and then flip it to whatever news station it was and be like, hey guys, check it out. And within like 19 seconds, his tweet was going to and people are losing it all over the country. And Donald laughed. And that's when I realized, I was like, he's a troll. Like
he's always been a troll. Yes.
You literally. And that's why, like, people, like, I don't think that people understand, like, look, he said this. Look, I have a video of him saying this. I'm like, listen, as a troll, sometimes you say things just to make people in the room wig out for kicks. You don't mean anything you just said. You just want to see how reactionary this group of people are for kicks. Because it's fun.
Go back and look at his interactions with
on the internet all day. I don't believe anything I say. I just want to see if I can cause a grass fire or not, a political typing grass. So like that's when I kind of realized, I was like, that dude is a troll.
Yeah. 100%. Go back and look at his interactions with Rosie O'Donnell and people like that, way before he before he ever showed any political ambitions, Yeah, he's a troll and he always has been. And that's what people loved about him, his followers. It really is, because they had watched George W. Bush and H.W. Bush and even Ronald Reagan to a certain extent. They had watched Republican presidents get beaten up by the press and by mainstream pop culture for years and years and years and not respond to it, because all three of those guys felt like they should remain above the fray. That was undignified to basically wrestle in the mud with the pigs. Donald Trump is a pig wrestler all the way. Donald Trump will get down in the mud and wrestle with the pigs at the drop of a hat. And that's a lot of what his people loved about him. He didn't let those cheap shots and false statements and things like that just go by unchecked. He answered every single one of them. Any personal attack you make on Donald Trump, he's going to answer. And his followers loved him for that. And so, yeah. Now, Anthony, the selling golden passports for citizenship, I'm not 100% sure what you're talking about, and I'm sorry to admit that. I assume you're talking about him basically letting wealthy people or buy their way in as citizens in the U.S. And just like in a true spirit of fairness, I suppose everybody should have to wait their turn. That should include no matter what your wealth level is. But, and that's the way I feel. But I also know realistically that rich people always go to the front of the line. They always have and always will. And I wish that wasn't true, but it is true. It always has been true. It always will be true. And, can we do something about that? Maybe, but not really. If history is any judge, no, not really, because we've never done a damn thing about it in the history of mankind.
The Trump gold card, often referred to as the gold card or Trump card, is proposed U.S. immigration initiative announced by Donald Trump on February 25th, 2025, aims at attracting wealthy foreigners by offering permanent residency and a pathway to U.S. citizenship for a $5 million fee.
Yeah. So basically letting them buy their way in as citizens. Sure. And so do I agree with that? No. Do I understand the practicality of that's going to happen? It always has. Rich people have always benefited from their wealth, and they always will. Never in the history of mankind have we ever stopped that kind of thing from going on.
It says it's actually a proposed bill to replace the existing bill, the EB-5 Immigrant Investor Visa Program, which allows foreign investors to obtain a green card by investing $800,000 to $1.5 million. Same.
And Jonathan Liker's got a point here too, that it's as long as they bring business to the U.S. And if that's true, then yeah, I can certainly understand that. So yeah, I mean, here's the thing: on a philosophical level, do I like the idea of rich people being able to buy their way in as citizens? No. But do I realize it's going to happen no matter what? Yes. And if we can benefit from it somehow, does that somehow make it better? Yeah, probably, but it's still rich people being rich people. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason why Donald Trump wants to attract the wealthy. It's because the wealthy improve the economy, or at least bring money into the system. That money doesn't always filter down the way it ought to, but yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is, do I oppose it? Sure. Does it matter whether I oppose it or not? Hell no. I'm a dumbass. I'm a random dumbass in the middle of nowhere. Nobody cares what my opinion is. And it's always been that way and always will be that way, unfortunately.
We'll do a quick segment, hard turn. You just sent me for a segment. The WNBA has no desire to become a viable league. What are you talking about there, big dog?
Okay. Well, here's what I mean by that. By the way, last night, Caitlin Clark, who is the face of the WNBA, whether people want to admit it or not, and there's this huge argument about whether she really is or not. Well, when she wasn't playing, their viewership fell by 50 to 60%. Last night, she was injured again, and she's been injured much of this season. And a lot of people blame that injury on the tactics of the WNBA, which is they basically just knock the crap out of her all the time. And to be honest with you, the officials don't call it, And I saw a sports reporter, I'm trying to remember who it was, may have been Colin Coward. It probably was. Anyway, saw somebody on one of the sports channels talking about how, think back to the Hack-a-Shaq. When Shaq was so dominant and nobody knew how to deal with him, what everyone did was they fouled him all the time. When Michael Jordan was dominant and nobody knew how to deal with him, everybody fouled him all the time. Go back even to Wilt Chamberlain, and that's exactly what people did, was just foul him all the time. But guess what? When those things were going on, the officials were calling the fouls. In the WNBA, the officials aren't calling a high percentage of the fouls that are being committed against Caitlin Clark. Yeah, I realize it, and that's why I say that the WNBA should come with a what's the term I'm looking for? Should come with a warning or a waiver that it may contain a basketball-like substance, because what they're playing in the NBA is not basketball. Basketball has rules that are not being followed in the WNBA. Now, when I say the WNBA has no desire to become a viable league, here's what I mean. If the WNBA had a desire to become a viable league, they would take advantage of this moment in time. They would take advantage of this face and other faces, because Caitlin Clark's not the only one, that have brought attention to the league. Angel Reese would be one of those, Sophie Cunningham and others. Caitlin Clark is not the only player that's brought attention to the league in the last 2 years. She's just the main one. If the WNBA had any desire to be a viable league, they would be doing things to promote those players, and they are doing absolutely nothing to promote, especially Caitlin Clark, but they're doing absolutely nothing to promote those players. As a matter of fact, they seem to be doing just the opposite in the case of Caitlin Clark and to a certain extent Sophie Cunningham and some others. If you look, and I'm torn between saying it's just god-awful officiating, because it's not just Caitlin Clark that this happens to. If you look at the officiating in the WNBA, it is comically horrible. I mean, it is. I don't watch the WNBA much. Admittedly, I just watch mostly highlights. Nobody's going to watch this league as long as this is the way the game is being played, because it's not basketball, what they're playing out there, okay? It's closer to hockey or field hockey. It is not basketball that they're playing out there. But I think the WNBA is just way too comfortable in being a league that is paid for, subsidized by the NBA. They have no desire, apparently, to rise above being a subsidized league and to get off on their own and become a viable league. They apparently just want to stay a league that is subsidized by the NBA. And I'll be honest with you, at this point, Caitlin Clark would be better off to leave the WNBA and go to Europe, where she could make more money and be able to play her game a lot more and be able to just be herself more. And I honestly, I don't know why she came to the WNBA anyway. She could have stayed in college one more year and made more money in college than she's making in the WNBA, or than she made her first year in the WNBA. And honestly, if she wanted to go pro, she should have gone to Europe. She would have made more money in Europe. She would have been able to play her game and probably would be happier in Europe. And so honestly, if Caitlin honestly wants to do what's best for her, that's probably what she ought to do, is pack it up and head to Europe. But I don't know. So, yeah, we've got another one down here.
Well, one thing I would say is when I first moved back here, I had a lot of people come up to me and they were like, hey, my sixth grader's like really good at sports. Can you help me like take some videos of them? And because I want, and I just asked them, I don't know anything about sports. The only thing I know about sports is what you tell me.
Yeah.
And I asked every single parent, probably 10 of them, do you know anything about NIL? And none of them knew what it was.
Yeah.
And so my advice to them, maybe you could tell me if this is bad advice or not, because they were all like, I think my kid could go pro. Like right now they're only in the 4th grade, but I think they got it, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, no offense. I was like,
can go pro.
And I said, and I used Caitlin Clark as an example. I told all these parents, I was like, if going pro is like a financial like destination, I was like, that you need to know what NIL is. And to me, in modern day, going pro is, as far as payday, I don't think it's anywhere near as important as it was 80s, 90s, 2000, early 2000s. Now you can literally stack your pockets without being good sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're marketable, so to me, like if you're a little girl and you're in the 4th grade and you think you're like, I'm gonna go to the WNBA and get rich. No, you're not. Unless you get some NIL money, like you're not going to get rich playing in the WNBA.
No,
that's your only source. You're going to get a little bit of fame, a lot of playing time, some injuries, and probably a summer job or whatever the off season is. Like that's just so if sports is what you want to make a living with, at least Google what NIL means and figure out maybe a few ways to get some income coming in before you get to the quote unquote show. I get before NIL, it was like hopefully someday I can make it to the professional leagues and buy my mom a house. It's like, if you're really good, like you can make it to the big leagues. You might not make enough to buy your mom a house unless you're really good. Like, I don't think people realize that like being a quote unquote professional sports player is not a high paying, in the big grand scheme of things, it's not a high paying job unless you're and Caitlin Clark, she's spectacular and she's still not paid very much. You know what I mean?
No, that's because WNBA, listen, first of all, the WNBA loses money every single year. They are not a viable league. They are subsidized by the NBA. If they were not subsidized by the NBA, they would have been shuttered and the league would have been out of business long ago, because the WNBA does not make a profit. They don't get enough TV viewers and they don't get enough people at the games to turn a profit. Okay, they are a money losing league, which means if they weren't subsidized, they would not exist. Okay, so nobody in the WNBA really makes a whole lot of money. Okay, they do get a bigger slice of the pie, a bigger percentage of league revenues than the vast majority of professional leagues, the players in professional leagues. Okay, as far as compared to what the league takes in, WNBA players are paid better than NFL players, NBA players, MLB players. Okay, but you're right. They don't make a whole lot of money. I think the top NBA players are making between $150,000 and $200,000. Okay. Now, some of them have supplemental contracts with, sneaker companies or other things. They are profiting off of their name, image, and likeness. It has nothing to do with the WNBA, and so on. Caitlin Clark makes a whole lot of money on endorsements and things like that. So that's where she's making most of her money. She's not making her money playing basketball. She's making most of her money selling tennis shoes and other products, Gatorade or whatever.
That's what I was saying. If you just asked her accountant and her accountant didn't have a TV, what does your client do? Like, oh, she's a salesperson. Because that's where her money comes from, is being an endorsement person,
right.
Which is great. And again, that was my point to the parents. I'm not saying your kid can't, he said at 50. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I'm saying what you need to do is figure out other ways to make income by being being an athlete, rather than just putting all of your hopes and wishes that some professional contract is going to buy your way into financial freedom for life.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the chances of making it to the pros, even if you are an extremely good athlete, and most of the people that I hear talking about making it to the pros are not extremely good athletes. The chances of making it to the pros, even if you are an extremely good athlete, is minuscule. Okay? And I'm always swept away by by all the people that think that they can play in the NBA or play in the NFL or whatever. You can't. Okay? A fraction of a percentage of the population can play at that level. Okay? A fraction of a percentage. And you're not in that fraction. Okay?
And I can sympathize with athletes that have to come to that realization. As somebody who's a musician, it's the same number.
Yeah.
It's like, you pick up a guitar. Will I ever get famous and get chicks? Probably not, big dog, but it'll be fun. Maybe you can get.
I would say that the world of sports is a little more talent driven than the world of music. That's probably a horrible thing to say, but I would say it probably is.
But I think the luck percentages are about the same. I
don't know about that. I was thinking that's what I meant when I said I would say the talent percentage is a lot higher in sports. Anyway, that's an argument for another day. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a little sidelight here. Here's the one that always blows me away. As an English teacher, I get to read papers from students of, what they want to do with their life and all this. And it amazes me every year how many students I have that tell me that they're going to play in the NFL or they're going to play in the NBA. And they don't even play high school football or high school basketball. That's one of them that always gets me especially. Wait a second. You're not even on the football team. How the hell are you going to play NFL?
Delusions of grandeur are bad, okay?
Yeah.
Double T says, it amazes me the second Caitlin Clark went pro, everyone stopped talking about Brittany Griner, and Brittany is still in the league. I have to agree with Norm. They can make better money in Europe. And then she says that she kneeled during the anthem and then panted her ass off to get back home. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be Brittany Griner, sure, yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Brittany Griner, who, honest to God, I don't guess I had ever heard her talk until this year. Her voice is lower than mine.
Yeah. You do have a lady voice, though, so it's really not. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, thanks.
No, okay. We got 10 viewers. 4 minutes. Well, actually, no, I cut out. There's not a lot of dead air, but most of this will end up on TikTok. Maybe Norm will start a Patreon for you TikTokers to hear the final 10, 15 minutes of the show. Next topic, favorite songs of 1987. Norm's making a weekly list of all the songs that suck. And we are going to start. The reason I picked this in 1987 was a big year for glam metal.
It was.
Norm like glam metal in 87. So, but we're doing the broad stroke of pretty much all music of 87. And we'll let you go first since it's your segment you do every week. And obviously, chatters, get on Google and look at lists and find songs in 87 that you thought were badass. Go ahead, Norm.
All right. The number one, even though I told you it was a huge year for glam metal, my number one pick is not from the glam metal genre. It is, in fact, from the college rock kind of genre, and that is The One I Love by REM.
This one goes out to the one I love.
This one goes out to the one I love. Yeah.
REM is up there as far as like bands that I really, really liked growing up. And like we listened to Losing My Religion the other night when we were driving home, and whole family loved it. We were jamming out. Okay, let me see. I'm gonna go with. I just want to. Every time we do this segment, I dig the hole deeper. I just want to tell the audience and anybody that's listening 100 years from now, I like chicks. I promise, 100% into chicks.
That is an unconfirmed rumor.
I'm gonna go with "Mandolin Rain" by Bruce Hornsby.
Holy crap!
I promise I like chicks though. But that song, I don't know what it is about it, but that song is choice. It's in my top 10 of all time favorite songs.
Oh, that is the lamest pick ever.
It's great.
Okay, here we go. I'm not going to do anything unusual or anything surprising here. No, for my second choice, I'm going with "Still of the Night" by Whitesnake.
So is the first song we talked about, is that 87 too? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna follow you with Whitesnake with "Is This Love." That's my favorite of the. You have to listen to the Survivor one for next week, and next week you have to answer, because there can only be one. We're gonna contact Spotify and have them delete the other one, but I need to know which "Is This Love" from 86 and 87 gets to be the "Is This Love" of the 80s.
Okay, now I'm gonna go deep here for my third pick. A band that you've probably never heard of, that many of our listeners have probably never heard of, but they are a legitimately great band. And that is the band, I'm going to give the English pronunciation of it, the American pronunciation of it. That's the band EZO with "Here It Comes." Okay, they're a Japanese band. The name of the band should actually be pronounced Azo, because they were from the island of Hokkaido, whose original name was Azo. So they were named for where they were from. Okay, but yeah, the most Americans, because it's capital E, capital Z, capital O, pronounce it EZO. Okay, so yeah, we're going with "Here It Comes" by EZO.
All right. Do we have any commenters throwing any songs out?
Terry threw out "Wanted Dead or Alive" by Bon Jovi.
That was going to be one of my picks. Pretty rad song, and it really accompanied the movie, the Emilio Estevez movie really well. Young Guns.
Okay, "Blaze of Glory." Is that what you said?
No, that's Terry's pick. I'm not. Mine's going to be I just had it. Oh, "Hip to Be Square," Huey Lewis and the News.
To be square. All right. Was that 87? Really?
What it says.
Wow. I would have put that earlier. I would have put that probably 84 or 85. I was reading a couple of our comments and got cracked up when I should have been listening to you. I was looking at Derek puts the tism and patriotism.
I love my fans. I mean, haters.
That's lovely. Okay. Let's see. Back to my list. Sorry about that, man. I'm wheezing like an old man all of a sudden. I'm hoping you can't hear me whistling. You can't hear the death rattle over the microphone here. All right. You know that I don't like this band because I personally did not like some of the members of this band.
I didn't put the albums out in 87.
But Appetite for Destruction came out in 1987, and it was a huge album, and I can't downplay its significance, right? So, really probably ought to choose one from Appetite for Destruction. So I'm going to go with Paradise City at this point.
Okay. Side quest, which do you think the internet didn't exist, but if the music scene was an internet, which broke the internet more, Appetite or Nevermind by Nirvana? Which one caused a bigger crack in like the music scene?
It's a good question because they are pretty comparable. I would say Appetite for Destruction was probably a bigger album at the time, but that Nevermind by Nirvana signaled more of a shift in music. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Both albums definitely hit the ground and ran, and
yeah,
like, what the hell's
going
on?
I also want people to understand this about Guns N' Roses. Okay, there was a huge club scene in Los Angeles. And there were the clubs that all of the glam metal bands were coming out of. And I'm going to name just some of the biggest ones. These were not by any means the only ones, but the biggest ones were the Whiskey A Go-Go, the Troubadour, Gazzara's, the Rainbow Room. Guns N' Roses wasn't playing in any of those glam metal clubs. Guns N' Roses was actually playing in the punk clubs, and the punk clubs were kind of accepting of some different musical forms because Dwight Yoakam came up through the punk clubs in LA too, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And so Guns N' Roses and Dwight Yoakam were playing the same clubs. They were not playing the same clubs as Bon Jovi and Great White and Dokken and bands like that, you know? And so, yeah, they came from a little different scene. They really did.
All right, my next pick is Gloria Estefan. The Rhythm Is Gonna Get You.
Okay.
You got to realize, though, in 87, I was 4. So basically, I was gay. I was just like a little fruity kid dancing around to whatever my mom listened to.
All right. Another big album that came out.
I think your mic's on your head.
Oh, yeah, it is. Sorry. Great White had a big release in 87 as well. And the first single off of that one was a song called Rock Me, which was a huge song for Great White at the time. So I'm going to pick that one.
Now, I'm not picking this song, but I did see the video today because I was doing research. George Michael, I Want Your Sex.
Yeah.
So many hot chicks in it, and then it just keeps cutting to him dancing all fruity. I'm like, oh, the world wasn't keen. Well, they all knew. But yeah, and I was just like, man, what? I felt bad for him. I was like, he's a gay man singing a song, and I just keep throwing all these hot chicks in it. Just cut to him being obviously gay for 10 seconds. I was just like, what a wild time to be alive. Let me see. I'm gonna go with Belinda Carlisle. Heaven Is a Place on Earth. That's what we call a banger in my generation.
Yeah. All right. The next one I'm going to choose is going to be. Okay, so this is a band that came up through the punk clubs more so than the glam metal clubs. And they're an English band, so they also, came through England. And that is The Cult. And the song I'm going to choose from The Cult is Love Removal Machine.
Love Removal Machine.
Yeah. The Cult released the album Electric in 1987, and it was a hugely happening album in a very underground sort of way.
Do we have any commenters shouting out songs?
Blaze Wilson is saying, love The Cult. Terry Brugge, Heat of the Night. Bryan Adams. I was not aware that Bryan Adams did a song called Heat of the Night. And Anthony, Tonight, Tonight, Tonight by Genesis.
Hell yeah, I love Genesis. All right. My next pick will be Michael Jackson, Bad.
Okay.
I can hear your snickering. I can't hear your wheezing, but I can hear your snickering. I don't appreciate it.
Yeah, it's all right.
Listen, this is the allegations, buddy. Okay. I was.
Okay. I'm going to, here's a deep cut for you. By the way, this is a song that's been covered by multiple bands. Okay. So I'm going to tell you the version of the song that I'm choosing is, all right, the song is Because the Night, right? Natalie Imbruglia did a version of it, Because the Night Belongs to Lovers. The version of it that I'm choosing, though, is by the glam metal band Keel, Keel. Keel's version of Because the Night.
You're doing a lot of deep tracks, buddy. All right, I'm going to go with Cutting Crew, Died in Your Arms Tonight.
Yeah, I love that song.
That's a jam.
Yeah, that is a good song. As critical as I often am of your picks, that is a good song. All right, so I'm going to get out of the glam metal genre too here for a minute, and this will surprise you because it's kind of a, I don't know, I'm not real sure exactly how you describe this band. They're kind of a techno pop band. I don't know. True Faith by New Order.
I'm sure if I heard that, I would know what it is, but I don't. That's not. I'm going to go with Lean on Me by Club Nova.
All right. I didn't know that's who did that song. Okay. Let's see. Oh, another huge album in 87. Hysteria by Def Leppard was released in 87, right? Lots of big hits off of that one, but I'm going to go with the title track right here, Hysteria by Def Leppard.
Great record. I love that a lot. I'm gonna go with Kim Wilde. You keep me hanging on.
Okay. Okay. Oh, here we go. Swedish band, Swedish glam metal, a band called TNT. They released their debut album in 87, and it contained the song 10,000 Lovers. So 10,000 Lovers by TNT. I think it is a reference to Wilt Chamberlain's claim that he had slept with 10,000 women.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I saw that in the video I watched. I'm going to say Don't Dream It's Over by Crowded House.
Oh, nice. Okay, I'm going to throw out big hit by Heart, who had kind of a revival in the mid to late 80s, and go with the song Alone.
I think we're alone now. Or is that Tiffany?
No, that's Tiffany. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that might have been 87, though.
It may have been.
Wow. I'm not going to pick this song. Honorable mention, Everybody Have Fun Tonight by Wang Chung. I don't know what the hell the song was about, but it's pretty fun to listen to. But my actual pick is going to be a dedication to Stephanie, who culturally appropriates often. Los Lobos La Bamba. Great version of the song. Now, I had a question for you. You might know this. Los Lobos La Bamba, 87. I'm guessing that's the year the movie came out, and that song was written for the movie soundtrack?
Well, no. That song was a song done by Richie Valens, which is who the movie was about.
But I mean, was that covered?
Los Lobos covered it in 87 for the movie, yes.
Okay, that was my question. Yeah, like was them covering it had to do with the movie?
Yes, they covered it for the soundtrack of the movie, yes.
Okay, and knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and Jonathan Liker's throwing out 1987 Def Leppard, Pour Some Sugar on Me, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And he also mentions Heat of the Night by Bryan Adams.
Is it your turn or my turn?
It's actually my turn.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. Let's go with a little John Cougar by Now He Was John Mellencamp, Paper and Fire.
Okay. You want to do one more each? And then I had a question for you.
Yeah, let's do one more each.
Okay, my final, and it's actually my most favorite song from 87. And I watched a deep dive on it, and like the song was not written for who made it famous. And I think if you like really think about it, it makes a lot of sense that it was kind of a mix. Like you could tell a songwriter wrote that song, and Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody is again, you could have Whitney Houston sing the Star Spangled Banner and it's going to be a top 10 hit, but that song is just a great feel. You throw that song on and you just feel good. You could be depressed, throw that song on and you're like dancing around your house like an idiot. Just like everything's fine. It's going to work out, you know?
All right. And my last pick for tonight's going to be one that's probably going to surprise you coming from me, Derek. I'm going with You Got the Look by Prince.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, yeah,
well, I got last question for you.
Yeah.
I didn't know this because I thought it was a great song, but I fell into a rabbit hole, and apparently it's one of the most hated songs of all time. I was curious if you liked it or if you hated it or if you know why people would hate it. I think whoever sang We Built This City.
That would be Jefferson Starship, although they may have been going by just Starship by that point.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to say people hated it because it got overplayed, especially on MTV. It was one of those that, it was, heavy rotation. It seemed like it was every third or fourth video they played on MTV at one point there. And it's kind of a meaningless, just kind of a meaningless pop sugary kind of song. Do want to throw out here Terry Tabruggi mentions Meet Me Halfway by Kenny Loggins, and Jonathan Liker goes with Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses. Yeah, also, I thought about Sweet Child of Mine. I felt like I needed one off of Appetite for Destruction, but I went with Paradise City instead of Sweet Child of Mine.
We have to get off of here, but I would argue that Sweet Child of Mine, and I am not an expert, I would argue Sweet Child of Mine is the reason that Guns N' Roses transcended because Metallica is a huge metal band. They do have a lot of crossover fans, but Guns N' Roses is a very, I guess Metallica's there now, but
Sweet Child of Mine was
broad song. Like people, everybody knows who they are.
Yeah. Sweet Child of Mine was not the biggest hit off of that album at the time, but it has been the most enduring hit off of that album. You know, it's the song that most people today have heard of more than anything on that album.
Yeah.
The biggest hit off of that album at the time would have been close between Paradise City and Welcome to the Jungle, you know?
Yeah.
But the one that today more people are familiar with is Sweet Child of Mine. It has been a more enduring hit, you know. Terry Tabruggi points out that Whitney did the Star Spangled Banner at the Super Bowl in January of 91, and it reached number 20 on the Billboard Hot 100.
She also sang newspaper headlines in '86, and it went to
yeah.
She's.
Let's face it, she could sing. You're right. Anything she sang was gonna be good.
Yeah,
she was a phenomenal singer, phenomenally talented, and it's tragic, you know, what happened in the later stages of her life. It really is.
Yeah.
I loved Whitney Houston, but she's her life is a great example of yet another from the world of music that's a great example of what, you know, substance abuse can do to you.
Yep.
All right. Anything else? Apparently Jared is having some intestinal difficulties.
He's pooping.
That's what Anthony's telling us, yeah.
Elkhart's got a bunch of good food. Dairy Cream's amazing.
Yeah. Big
I'll be
C's
honest,
is good.
If you catch any of them, if you see an open sign, they're all good. But a lot of them have weird hours, it seems like.
Yeah, that's somewhat true, for sure.
Have you and Natalie ever ate at the Agave place on Main Street here in Hugoton?
I have. I don't think Natalie has.
Talk her into coming over one of these nights. Let's go down. We've been there about 17 times in the last. No, it's really good.
It is very good. Yeah,
we like it a lot, man. There's a lot of good food in Western Kansas, and hopefully tell Jared to take some Imodium AD, and
especially a lot of good Mexican food in Southwest Kansas, because you know there's such a large number of Hispanic immigrants in this area. So yeah. But yeah, also a lot of good American food too in Elkhart. Yeah,
87 was a great year for music. Tons of great.
It was.
Well,
and we haven't even. Yeah, we barely scratched the surface, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Do you have a year in mind you want to do next year?
Not off the top of my head. Let me take a look. We've done a lot of 80s and 90s, so we might want to go with something a little more recent. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, it seems like we've focused on the late 80s and early 90s a lot, so maybe, I don't know, but I'll get back to you on that, yeah.
All right, man.
All right, so thank you, everybody, for tuning in, especially for participating. We always love it when people participate in the discussion. It's great to hear your opinions. Anthony's saying 1969. I think he's even saying ironically, but
I was actually going to say...
He's not just saying it so he can go, 69, dude!
I was saying we could do 83 because that's the year I was born, and we could do the year you were born.
Okay. 66, the year I was born. We're getting closer to Anthony's.
Let's do 66 next year because it's
next week? Okay.
Next week. I keep saying that. When it comes to...
hey, that reminds me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Next week, Wednesday, I will be in Garden City for a sleep study. So we're going to have to do it on a night other than Wednesday next week. Okay. Do we want to do Tuesday or Thursday or?
Let's either one will work. We'll talk about it, and then I'll make an announcement on all the channels.
Okay.
And let's do 69 because that's the year Anthony Honavirus is born, and
there we go.
He is a weekly viewer, and we super appreciate
absolutely.
it. Okay,
so sounds good.
Me being a good guy and a white devil, but I appreciate he shows up every week, and I love him. He's awesome.
Yep.
So we'll
absolutely. Anthony is great. So yeah, we'll do 69, and we'll probably be doing that, Anthony, either Tuesday evening or Thursday evening, because I will not be around Wednesday evening. But
all righty.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll let you know when we'll be on next week. It'll be either Tuesday or Thursday, though, in all likelihood. Thanks for being with us and participating tonight, and we'll see you next week.